it's a very, very soft marketplace, and there is an influx of inventory in streaming. So the Amazon Prime Video made a major announcement. They're coming in Q1 2024. Netflix continues to grow. There's a lot of just organic growth amongst the streamers that introduced advertising, particularly Disney Plus and others. So there is a lot of inventory now, which is why you're seeing so much of the money move to streaming, which logically follows where the viewership is. And linear continues to, quite frankly, decline. Their viewership remains older, and the reach is declining quarter over quarter. So I mean, now if you're looking at what you would reach with traditional television, you kind of max out on any given quarter based on what you're buying at around 35 million households. Still big, still hugely important, but the opportunity to really reach all of America now exists in other platforms and certainly in streaming platforms.
And so how do you stitch all that together? How do you aggregate an audience with streaming?
It is not easy, but we have, at OMD, we have very specific partnerships with some of the larger streamers around how we integrate and share our audiences from a technical perspective. So we have direct privacy-safe clean room integrations with Disney and with NBCU and with Paramount and with Warner Brothers Discovery to distribute our audiences and understand clearly who we are going to reach of that audience on those platforms. And that's step one in terms of maximizing reach and making sure you're really doing the right things across these streamers. Certainly we have that in play with Amazon, but on their streaming TV delivery right now, and we're excited to see that extended into Prime Video because we think that's going to be huge based on their published number of reaching 85 million households.
And so this summer we had the actor strike, the writer's strike. How has that affected the creative output of Hollywood and really how networks work with brands or other media companies?
Oh, it's been brutal. It's well, and particularly as an Angelino, this is a very human problem. The strike has affected everyone. It's really affected Los Angeles in terms of our economy. But in terms of advertising, it's a little bit, I'm not putting it mildly when I say it's a disaster. And it's a disaster because linear television was already struggling, and with no new programming, available because of the strikes, you will see a continued shift to catalog content in streaming. So it really is just cementing the further erosion of traditional television viewership in favor of on-demand catalog engagement. So that's a huge boon to streamers, and most of the traditional television partners have streaming platforms. Some have made the transition better than others. So we're going to start to see some fall way behind. I mean, you're going to have to see consolidation. And those who have invested wisely in their streaming platforms and their capabilities and really embraced that they are now a technology company are going to be far more successful in 2024 because they're ready for this. There are some that aren't. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the strike and the lack of content, which drives viewership in the traditional medium, is going to really accelerate the streaming distribution.
And one of the key issues with those strikes was how creators can monetize their creative works. Just kind of curious what your view is of it from an advertiser perspective about creators, influencers, and the degree to which they can all work together.
Well, they all should work together, right? And as a media agency, it's our job to make sure that our clients are able to operate both with creators in terms of leveraging their capabilities, their storytelling, the way they can influence and work with a brand to really improve their knowledge in a given community is huge. Creator content is going to be absolutely a huge part of the media plan going forward. It's not just about traditional media anymore. It's really about all of those things working in concert. The influencer piece is really interesting right now because the world is not in a great place. And these platforms where these influencers thrive, if it's not a specific creator relationship, if it truly is a transactional influencer relationship and trying to get your message out to their followers, there are issues with authenticity, there are issues with context. The social platforms right now that really enable this are a very dangerous place for a lot of advertisers. So again, that makes our jobs even harder right now to really make sure that we're getting the right transparency and really doing the right things on behalf of our advertisers in these spaces, which is why you're going to see a more and more significant gravitational pull toward direct, controlled relationships with creators versus broad influencer relationships. That's my prediction. Is it just makes sense to go that route.
And the creator market is evolving, or influencer market, with the student athletes, for example, with the name, image, likeness rights that they have. What's happening there?
Oh, it's a name, image, likeness right now is a huge opportunity for advertisers. And at OMD, we have a dedicated unit called Optimum Sports that focuses on making that a reality for our advertisers. So they do all of the research. They vet the athletes. They make sure they understand everything they've ever posted and what they stand for before we engage one of those athletes to work with our brands. And having that capacity and capability with Optimum Sports is huge for OMD, because this is the best way to take advantage of the boom in women's sports right now. You have these women athletes absolutely crushing it and now getting paid for what they're doing in ways that were not possible just 2 years ago because of this shift. And, you can say a lot of negative things about the impact of the NCAA ruling, but for women's sports and for women athletes, this has been amazing. And we really see our advertiser gravitating toward that because it's one of the fastest growing segments. The interest in women's sports, the viewership, all of it around these social platforms and even in traditional television is on the way up. So this is a huge opportunity, I think, and certainly our advertisers are aligned with that.
Well, finally, Kelly, I just wanted to ask you, what to expect in the year ahead with the upfront. Is there anything that you're keeping an eye on in particular? Not necessarily just the upfront, but the media marketplace in general.
We always have an eye on the marketplace, and I think in this year's upfront, it's really going to be again about how we are looking at the streaming landscape and what we're getting in return for the investment, because there's still a lot of work to be done in the streaming landscape on transparency, on knowing where we're running, and on understanding how we're going to plan for that. It's context and audience, not just audience. And if our streaming partners aren't embracing the context, they're missing out, and we're not going to continue to spend there if we don't understand exactly where we're running. We recently announced a partnership with NBCU to surface that through their clean room, through traditional brand safety tools and measurement tools, and we expect every streaming partner to follow suit, because that is what this marketplace needs. We cannot be running in places we are unsure of, and traditional television has always offered that safety. Streaming needs to do the same.